Welcome back to Mile High Hoops. Today we're talking about the Brooklyn Nets, and today the big three will all be in French Revolutionary War gear, since they all wanted to quit on their teammates. But anyways, with that being said, please like or dislike, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you want to see next. We'll get right into it. So we got to start with KD and his trade request. It has been rescinded since then, but he did ask to go to either the Suns or the Heat. And if we're being real, neither of those teams had a trade package for him, or at least one they would want to do and continue to get better with, because they would have had to move so many things, especially lead star players. But I mean, he did rescind it, and I guess he's fully bought in on the season. But I mean, he is 34 now and has 4 years left on his deal. It just doesn't make any sense for him to get moved by the Nets, and unless they could pull some mega package for him, then they're not going to do it. So it is good that he has came back to the team and he's going to be playing, and we'll see if he continues to play for them or if some other thing comes down the road that causes him to sit out again. So Kyrie just accepted his team option, so he is on this team for this next season, and the Nets will need to extend him. And I would lean towards them doing that, basically because Kevin's still going to be here for 3 more seasons after this one. And it seems like the whole KD Kyrie thing was all about the two of them just playing together. And this roster is actually super deep at this point, and there's not going to be a better place really for them to do that or a way for Kevin to get out. So I would assume that Kyrie would take an extension of some sort and stick around. But as far as basketball goes with these two, I mean, these two are just crazy talented, like some of the most talented players of all time. Like maybe not top players of all time, but definitely top talent-wise. And the only real weakness that the two of them have is defense. But, I mean, when they did make it to the playoffs and were deep in it, I mean, they were able to string together a pretty good defensive team in the playoffs. And so maybe they can flip that sort of switch. But, I mean, if I'm overreacting to the preseason game the other night, I mean, their defense was atrocious. Even with, Kyrie locks in on defense and can keep guys in front, and he's super active while he's guarding people, but he just isn't good enough on defense and strong enough. I mean, people get into his chest and get by him, but I mean, at least he is trying. Like he's not one of those bad defenders that just is just kind of there and he's just a traffic cone. He at least has active hands and he's trying to move his feet the whole time. Kevin, on the other hand, I mean, Kevin's pretty good. He just doesn't sink his hips enough, and he is a pretty good rim defender as well. But for those two, it's just a matter of buying in and making those around them better. And now the elephant in the room, Benny 1 point, Ben Simmons. So if we're going to continue on this trend of overreacting to that preseason game last night on the 3rd of October, Ben was struggling. I mean, thinking back to JJ Redick's podcast with Ben Simmons, Ben said that he was going to be shooting threes. And, I mean, even in a preseason game, we didn't see it. And he did say he was going to be more aggressive to score. Didn't see that either. From what I remember watching him take one shot that wasn't a layup or dunk. And that one shot was a terrible, disgusting post fadeaway that he missed the rim entirely. I don't know where I'm at on Ben anymore. When he was coming into the league, I was super high on him. I thought he was going to be, definitely, I didn't think he was going to be LeBron, but I thought he was going to be, the closest type, or closest to LeBron that there would be for a while, as far as, I mean, he fit the same archetype. It's just, Ben doesn't want to score. He doesn't want to. I don't get it. He has a size advantage on almost everybody, probably a speed advantage too, and he just doesn't look to score. He could do a couple dribble moves and get to the rim almost every time if he wanted to, or if he had a single cojones, you know, and it's baffling to watch, especially like when he's got these crazy scores on his team, and I guess that's probably going to feed into him not wanting to score even more because now he's got all these shooters and Kyrie and Kevin to work off, and he's going to mostly just be wanting to dish the ball when it's just sometimes it's just better. You got to go to the rack. But I don't know. Regardless, about the game again, though, they started him. They put him in the box score as point guard, but he was kind of more like the small forward for them. And it was kind of weird, and I don't think it really worked. Their defense looked terrible. And I think what's going to end up having to happen is Ben's going to have to play the center, and they're going to have to run some 4-out, 1-in, and be running high pick and rolls and let Ben catch it in the short roll and have a corner on either side of him to pass it to, or cutters. It just looks like having him out there with Claxton or something just can't work because it's the same issue as in Philly, where Ben's on the block and the other center is rolling towards the other block, and Ben's defender can just help right over on it, and it just doesn't work. And they've got to try something. Put him in at center, and with the 4 shooters around him, now there's some space to operate. Now he can stand on the block and do pretty much nothing down there if they need him to do nothing. But I think as a screener, he's a big body and he sets good picks. And if he catches it rolling towards the rim, he will finish it. I mean, he'll go up for a dunk or a layup. But like I was saying, off isolations, he just will not look for his own. So I think that's the best option for them. And I feel like if they don't do that, they're going to be bound to turning the ball over, playing terrible defense, and their offense being slightly bogged down. And I think that's just the best option for them. I guess another route that they could go is like start him at like the 4 or something like they tried, but then quickly sub out Claxton or something. There was definitely a couple good times of Ben getting the rebound, or Kyrie or Kevin Durant actually, and because both of those two will push the ball up the court very quick, so they'll catch the rebound and just throw it right up the court. And it was very nice actually. Their fast break offense looked great with Ben because they would just throw it to Ben, and Ben would be able to like draw some defense and then lob it up to Claxton or hit someone for a 3. And that looks good, but their half-court sets look terrible, and their defense looked bad. Now, I don't want to get into these other guys too deep, but I will say they do have a lot of depth on this roster. They've got a lot of different lineup possibilities. I mean, guys that I'm looking at that can play pretty good minutes, actually, is like they added Markieff Morris. Nick Claxton is their starting center as of right now, and they've got Patty Mills. TJ Warren did sign a vet min with him. He's still recovering from the foot surgery. And then they've got Joe Harris, Royce O'Neal, and Seth Curry. So they've got a lot of guards/wings. And the thing with them, though, is a lot of these guys are very one-dimensional in the sense that, like, Seth Curry, very, very, very good shooter. Can't really play defense. Royce O'Neal does break that mold. Royce is a great shooter. Plays great defense and can dribble a little bit. So he was a good addition. Joe Harris, another sniper, not a great defender also. And then TJ Warren, actually, I have no idea what we're going to get out of him. But, I mean, you can't really look at the bubble because he was bubble Jordan. But if he could even be part of what he was, where he was a good shooter, could create, and play pretty good defense. I mean, at a 6'8" wing for this team, I mean, they could almost throw him in the starting lineup with these guys if he's working out well. And then Patty Mills just kind of pops off with threes sometimes. So I think he's a good guard to have on the team. Again, he can't really defend either. And Markieff, I don't know where I sit with Markieff. I've always liked Marcus better, and Markieff has never really seemed like he was as good of a shooter or as like tough of a defender. But as another bigger body, I mean, he's 6'9". They could definitely just throw him at small ball center too. But I guess what I'm saying here is that they've got all these different weapons that can score the ball around their main three, and it leads to a possibility of their offense being extremely elite. But the only real downside is that their defense could be so bad that it doesn't matter, because they'll have the opportunity to outscore the other team every night, but if they're getting absolutely just destroyed on defense, like they're going to be putting in so much effort on defense that, I mean, maybe their offense isn't going well, or they might suffer some Houston Rockets syndrome and they might just miss all their threes one night. Looking back to just, again, preseason game, but the 76ers were hitting threes like crazy. The Nets weren't. And the Nets got absolutely murdered in the first half. And it was pretty ugly because their defense was terrible. They were getting destroyed by a 76ers team with no Joel Embiid. And the Nets had pretty much all of their guys playing. So I don't know. This roster is confusing. And, I mean, on paper, it looks good with the amount of shooting they have, but they don't really have all that much defense. I mean, Ben Simmons and Royce are pretty much the only guys I would classify as defenders. But maybe, like I said earlier, they could flip that switch, and maybe they put in some scheme that kind of puts in safety nets to help everybody out, but that would just lead to open shots at this point. Steve Nash has his work cut out for him, and I think that we've never seen a team that their ceiling is so much different than their floor, because this team could make it all work and win a championship, or they could suck really bad and everybody would start to hate each other, and then they'd ask for trades, Kyrie would leave, that sort of thing. But, I mean, as far as, like, salaries go on the team, Kyrie's got to renew. Seth Curry's off the books this next year. And pretty much other than that, almost everybody's locked in for the next year after that. And, I mean, they've got options. And their stars are older, but not so old that they're going to be bad. KD could probably be a lead scorer for another 3 or 4 years at this rate. I mean, the guy just puts the ball in the hoop. But this one's been a little bit rambly, but let's get to wins. Again, this is tough. They could win 55, 60 games. They could win 40, 45 games. I'm kind of leading towards them being a big disaster, but my gut is kind of telling me that they're gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna put them at like 53 wins, and I would say that's probably gonna be third or fourth in the East. I would definitely put the Bucks and the Sixers ahead of them, maybe the Heat as well, but we'll have to definitely wait and see. But if you're still sticking around here, thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe, or dislike, like I always say. But and let me know down below in the comments what you want to see in the next one and what you agreed with or disagreed with. But again, we'll have to see you next time. Bye.